Hi folks, hope you're having a good day. If you like what I do, the Patreon is down below. If you want to buy me a beer as we head towards the weekend, that is the place to go. Also, if you're going to get any models for the next few weeks, make sure you choose Composite Games. They're down below too. And if you use the promo code Northern Exile, you get yourself 5% off your order at checkout. And also, if you're going to be doing any painting, or you want somebody else to paint one of your marquee miniatures, then make sure you head over to Grimdark Painting, that is also down below, and use the promo code Northern Exile in your quote to get yourself 10% off of your final price there for your painting needs. You've already seen my Void Talon Terminator that I got done there. Lovely, lovely stuff. And if you haven't, it's in previous videos. Go and have a look at it. Let's jump in, shall we? Because Kev has something to say. And he says, "Hey North, just call me Kev," and I have done. "This will be short but sweet, and hopefully folks can relate. I run a small brewery." A brewery? Oh my god, you're a man to know. Lovely beers. "We have a decent sized tap room, and so I do some mean game nights out of the space. I figure if I'm going to be gaming at night, I may as well do it at my place and maybe sell a few more beers while I'm at it. As such, I have a large amount of combat patrol-sized 40k armies to teach newer players with, as well as several tables of terrain. At the moment, I've got Ultramarines, Drukhari, Death Guard, Orcs, Necrons, Tyranids, and finally, Leagues of Vatan. I bought a pre-painted Vatan army from a friend for some variety. Once I got home with my new purchase, I immediately hit my elbow on a wall, dropped all of the models onto the concrete floor of my unfinished basement. Everything breaks, but nothing a little glue can't fix. We've all been there, and I hope some folks got a laugh out of this. Dude, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Broken models is one of the quintessential nightmares. It's something I've actually had an actual nightmare of, right? It's finishing my army and then smashing it all over the place. There is nothing worse. Anyway, I'm more of a green tea guy, but there are some great craft breweries in the north of England. So cheers to whatever you are drinking. I'm currently enjoying one of my own beers. Hard to beat the price. Cheers, man. Well, if you want to send any my way, I can review them for you. But I'm not really a how do I put it, an IPA drinker. I mean, I can drink them. Do you know, I can drink them. It's just, you know, the beer sniffers. You will all know what I mean. The beer sniffers. Do you know what I mean? They wear dungarees and like checkered shirts under the dungarees. They got ridiculous ginger beards that they have this turned up moustache with. You know what I mean? Where they twist their moustache into a thing. They've usually got like a blast back mohawk, you know, and they're wearing glasses almost ironically. The dickheads, basically. Do you know what I mean? And they're always the. When I was working in bars, we used to call them beer sniffers, because you'd always serve them like an IPA, and they go, yes, and they sniff it, and I'm getting a hint of cinnamon. No, you're drinking a beer. You're an idiot. You're drinking a beer. What are you doing? Just drink it. Just drink it. Stop trying to convince us it tastes good. I'm like some sort of connoisseur, alright? It's not a glass of wine. Shut your face. Anyway. Moving on. Captain says, "Hello, Billy Bob Northman." Alright. "Hello, Billy Bob Northman. Just call me Captain. I'm here with quite a sad tale today that involves toxic friends, being kicked off of a hobby project, and a death in the friend group. Not everything written here is entirely accurate, as my memory isn't the best, but I'll convey to you what I remember in summary. Forgive me for any grammatical errors or misspellings. No problem, man. For easy reading, I'll name everybody involved now. Me, Richard, James, Nathan, and Andrew. Names are changed, of course. It all started just before COVID came about, and I was facing homelessness. Oh my god, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I was living alone in Seattle at the time, and I just had my car stolen. Not being able to commute the distance to work anymore, I lost both my jobs and was about to be kicked out of my apartment. Luckily for me, I met a very good friend online. We'll call him Richard. Him and I shared many interests, including 40k and Dungeons and Dragons. So, when he offered to take me in while I got my shit back together, I eagerly accepted. I gathered my things and bought a one-way ticket to Baltimore. Oh my god. For those of you who don't know, Baltimore is where The Wire is set, for good reason. Like I am told by a lot of Americans that Baltimore is literally like so one of my friends who's from Chicago, but he lived in Baltimore for a while. When I asked him why Baltimore is such a bad rep, he says, imagine the rep Liverpool has in England, right? And then make it real and times it by 10. That's Baltimore. I was like, oh my god. Yeah, it's a war zone. Mostly it's a war zone. Now, normally, this would not be a sound decision, given the nature of meeting random people online, but I've known Richard for over a year at this point, and we've actually met up before. So I put my trust in him, and I'd say it definitely paid off overall. Good, good. I was expecting this to end in tears, don't you know, but I'm glad it didn't work out that way. When I arrived at my new home, I was integrated into Richard's group of friends, some of whom I've already met online, and we all hit it off great. We were playing D&D every Sunday and paint miniatures at the local game store on occasion. All of us were super into D&D, so much so that for the entire duration of COVID, we helped our DM and friend James brainstorm and write ideas for his homebrew book for 5th edition, that eventually we hoped he would publish. I was in charge of rewriting and paraphrasing the language used for some of the rough drafts that James had already written. Have some tea now, because things are about to get complicated. Okay, it sounds good so far. It sounds to me like you've landed on your feet, which is good. All was well at first, but things got rocky when I couldn't commit to the book as often, as I had found the job at this point. That's when James started threatening to remove my name from the book and remove me from the project. Okay, right, 1 second. So I've tried to do collaborative projects before on the channel, right? And most of them have fallen apart because of me, my work schedule, and not being able to dedicate the time to it. So normally, like, if I've had a quiet few months in work where my hours go down from, like, 40 a week to, like 25 to 30 a week, because we're in a slow period in terms of tutoring and needing people for seminars, I will start going, oh, maybe I should do an online thing. Maybe I should do like a game, a D&D game with my supporters here on the channel, right? And every single time I get involved, I set something up, and then work rears its head again, and I go back up to 40 hours. It's taken me 2 failed projects like that to learn just not to do it, right? Not to do it at all, or literally to give the bare bones and then let people run with it, sort of a thing. The last one I did mainly ended because of people's attitudes. It got tiring to see people argue and to see people get annoyed with each other. And this is the thing. Your creativity, your creative stuff should be sacrosanct. You shouldn't really share it with people unless you're sure they're going to help out. You know, because sometimes, you know, I've had people just go so pompous on me through the creative process. And I've had people shouting at each other. I've had people getting into full-blown political arguments. I've had people, you know, bitching at me because I've not turned up to every single meeting that they've done in terms of the setting. Even when I clearly signpost, I'm going to do the bare bones for this setting, and then I'll come in every now and again to make sure you guys are okay. But this is your thing. You go and you take it and you run with it, right? Do you know what I mean? Even that, it was like, oh, well, he's never here. So, well, you know. So don't get me wrong. I fully get what you mean by a creative project goes off the rails and reveals some toxic personalities. I've now sworn off of doing that ever again on the channel. So I'm sorry if you ever expected me to like do something creative in terms of a story thing or like a world building thing. I can't. Number one, I don't have the time, and number two, even if I did have the time, the internet sucks, and there are many sucky people on the internet who will get involved in such a project only to zap all of the joy out of it for me to the point where I don't want to do it anymore, right? So there's no point in doing it. What I might do, what I probably will end up doing, is a Space Marine chapters compendium where I create Space Marine chapters and I let you guys flesh them out as we go along, that kind of thing. That'd be pretty cool. But in terms of a big world building project, that's dead in the water for now. I'm not doing any more for a while. Anyway, this upset me quite a bit, as I'd spent the better part of a year rewriting this book in my spare time, all for free. This resulted in a verbal argument ending with me cutting my losses and saying, do you know what? Fuck it, I don't care. Against my better judgment, I decided not to press the issue any further and moved on for the good of the friend group. Still meeting up for D&D regularly and playing with the homebrew book we'd written and giving verbal feedback when needed. The next major problem I began to notice with our group was on the drastically different demeanour of our friend Nathan. He was a great guy with a good sense of humour most of the time. Sometimes, however, he would joke around and he would just snap. We would joke around, and he would just snap back viciously, seemingly out of nowhere. He would often complain to our DM James that he was not having fun and that his games would burn him out. But then he would come back excited for our next game, only for the cycle to repeat. Okay. Now, this next one is only D&D related in the sense that it involved our friend Richard, who played on our friend group in our games getting married, So Richard's getting married, okay. I was happy for him, but I was the only friend not invited to the wedding. Richard said he forgot, and I believe him, as he's never done anything wrong to me before, but it's always itching at the back of my mind that maybe we're not as good of friends as I thought. Given all this information at this point, I still made the decision to maintain these friendships, as they've all helped me out in one way or another, and these slights happened sparsely over the course of a few years. These guys were my brothers, and I'm sure you know how hard it is to discard friends who've genuinely helped you. Yeah, I know what you mean. Take a tea break here and tell me what you think, because I'm about to tell the worst part of the story. I like the way this guy writes his hobby nightmares. This is good. Alright, tea break. Yorkshire tea. We are doing a painting competition on the channel, by the way. I'm just getting it sorted with the guys who are running it, because if you place in the top 3 of those painting competitions, you will receive a signed box of Yorkshire tea directly from yours truly. So that is that'll be all yours. All yours indeed. And very, very, very soon. I'm dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that right now and getting it sorted out. Anyway, what I will say for your friend group, man, is, yeah, people can slight you sometimes, but it doesn't mean that they're not your brothers and they're not your friends, you know what I mean? In terms of big slights, I'm going to be honest, if I was good friends with somebody and they had a wedding and they didn't invite me, I probably would just cut them out. I'd just quietly cut them out. I'd be like, okay, well, that's how it is, huh? Okay, well, I'll back away then. You know? You don't make a big scene of it, you don't ask them, you don't have a go at them, you don't ask them why, you just back away. That's what I'd do. No, you know what, if you think that little of me, that you forgot me, maybe we're not as good. I'd do what you did. Maybe we're not as good as friends as I thought. So I'll back away here, because obviously I've misinterpreted our friendship. So I'm gonna back away and not speak to you anymore. But you're no longer in the circle. If that person was in my inner circle, it's in my inner circle of friends. I've got about 2 to 3 friends, right? And at least one of those friends sometimes is put in a timeout, like outside the circle, because they act up. Do you know what I mean? They act up, they do selfish, shitty things, and I love them to bits, but they need a timeout. So they get pushed away from the friend group, right? And I don't know why this has happened, but my friends all know each other through me, right? And a lot of you listening to this will know what I mean. Being that social glue is fucking horrible, because you're the one who has to organise every night out. Every get-together, you're organising it. Nobody ever invites you to shit, because they all rely on you, they take you for granted, right, as the social glue. Everybody knows each other through you. That's how it works, right? They don't meet each other without you there. That's what I mean. And they're the only... And it's weird. Like, my friend group, they know each other through me, and a lot of them, without that friend group, they don't have many friends, right? They've got 1 or 2, maybe, you know? And so it's always me getting people out, getting people together, that kind of a thing. And it really does truly suck. Because they end up taking you for granted, and they end up saying, okay, well, it's a given that you're just going to organise things. But being that guy who's at the centre doesn't mean you're the most popular. It just means everybody knows each other through you. You know, it can be by default, like it is with me. But sometimes you've got to put somebody in a timeout because they do something really shitty. I would say not inviting you to a wedding. I'd be like, do you know what? Yeah, you're in a timeout, dude. You're not involved in the inner circle for a while. I'm not going to invite you out. That's it, you know. I've done it with a friend of mine who's like a brother. He's been in a timeout like 5 times. I've known him for 15 years. And he's been at least 5 times. I've not spoken to him for a good 2 or 3 months. Maybe 4. Because he's done something really shitty, you know. In terms of shitty things I'm talking about, I mean, like, we've gone on a night out, right? And he's left me in a city I don't know because he found a woman and wanted to go off with her. And just left me, right? So now I've got no mate, I don't know where I am. He lives there, so he knows where he is. He's left me, he's gone off with a woman, and I'm like, what am I doing here, right? And not only that, unforgivably, I don't know where he lives, so I'm walking the streets all night, right? The next morning, he calls me, and he wants to commiserate. Why? Because he didn't get laid. So after all that, he didn't even get laid. So I was like, you know what, mate? Fuck you. I'm getting on the train. I'm going home. Right? I'll see you later. I've not slept. I'm going home. Right? That kind of a thing. That kind of a thing. And eventually, they apologise, and they worm their way back in, and you let them back in, and then they let you down again a couple of months later, or a couple of years later in my case. And again, you put them in timeout again. Because it's not worth nuking such a long friendship over the occasional thing. What you need to do is ensure that you know where you can trust people and where you can't. Like another friend of mine who's literally like, another one who's like a brother, it's women. Again, I can't trust him around women. Not because he'll shark them, but because he will sack you off the minute any woman gives him a look. Like, anyone even gives him a sniff of a skirt, he will literally just sack you off and be like, yeah, I'm done. See, I'm going over here now. Right? It breaks a murder, man. It breaks bro code. And that's the kind of thing where I would put somebody in a timeout and be like, yeah, okay, we're done. We're done for now. Right, goodbye. Right? Because I don't want to lose you as a friend forever. But right now, you need to fuck off and go over there, not speak to me. And if they ask you why, just tell them. Be honest. You didn't invite me to your wedding. Sorry. And I know you forgot, but that's not an excuse. We're good enough friends where you shouldn't have forgotten me. You should not have forgotten me. So you're in a timeout. Sorry. And if you don't like that, fuck off. If you don't like that, fuck off. How's that? Right? Very clear, very open. Guys, do not... Ladies, don't have a go at me for this. Do not act like women, guys, alright? Do not be passive-aggressive. Just tell them. Right? Ostracize them for a bit. Say, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. Right? You don't need to tell them. You just quietly in your own head go, okay, that person's done for a bit. And if they ask you, then tell them, yeah, it's because of this. Right? You pissed me off by doing that. So you're in timeout for a bit. Don't say it like that because you're treating like children. You know what I mean? I'm saying because it's the easiest way to say it. But say to them, no, I'm taking a break from you for a bit, mate. Sorry. Because you fucking annoyed me. And I'm taking a break. If you don't like that, then fuck off. It's no skin off my nose. I'm already taking a break from you. So there you go. But it's better than throwing away a really long friendship. You know? Anyway. Here we go. Moving into the next half a year of our story now. And things get pretty bad. In 2022, our friend Andrew's wife passed away suddenly whilst they slept together. Oh no. Dude, that's got to be the worst. She wasn't even 30. Our group was devastated. And we were all worried about Andrew, who had a history of self-harm. Dude, he's fucked. That there aren't many people where I'd say this, but he's fucked. Like, you know. It can happen. Your people can just pass away. Aneurysms, all sorts overnight. Yeah. I actually give to a charity called CRY, which is Cardiac Risk in the Young. Because I've known people to just drop dead who are really young. The heart just gives out, this drop dead. Because they haven't gotten screened. Go and get yourself screened. If you're listening to this, you have any doubt whatsoever, go and get yourself screened. Even if you don't, it'll take you half an hour. Go and get yourself screened. And make sure any defect might turn up and they can treat it. Of course, he did try... Of course, he did try and end himself in a drunken haze, but Richard was there to stop him, thankfully. Good. After an ass-whooping, Andrew regained his senses and even found some happiness in the form of Richard's sister-in-law, who we'll call Renee. Everyone told him it was a bit too soon to be seeing another woman, but Andrew just couldn't stand being alone after that. To be honest, I'm pretty sure everybody was just happy he wasn't trying to kill himself anymore. As unhealthy as it was, everybody except for James. You see, when Renee came to visit her sister, Richard's wife, she and James got along pretty well, and he had started developing an interest in her. This is until Renee met Andrew and she fell for him instead. James ignored his feelings at first for Andrew's sake. Eventually, though, James told Andrew how he felt betrayed and that they got into an argument and ended their friendship after Andrew ended up moving in with Renee across the country. Yeah, James is a bit of a dickhead here, right? How can you feel betrayed if you just like a girl and she chooses somebody else? That's not the guy's fault, alright? That's not the guy's fault. Maybe you should have, sucked it up and approached her before she went off with this Andrew guy. Never think of that. Listen, it's your fault, dude. 90% of the things men get in relationships, it's your fault. Do you know why? Because you're the leader. You're the one who's supposed to be leading that relationship. You're the one who's supposed to be setting the tone, right? I don't mean being a tyrant. I don't mean talking down to your woman. Don't do that. What I mean is you need to set the tone. You need to lead the relationship. If you don't do that, and the relationship goes off the rails, you've got yourself to blame. Alright? Okay? Even the most successful women I've ever known have always told me they don't want to be winners. Right? They want to have a good life, but they want to find a winner. They want to find a guy who's winning at life and who can match them. That's what they want, right? If you're the kind of guy who just lets things like this go, you've only got yourself to blame. If she's shown an interest in you and you've not done anything about it, you've let it go, mate, learn from that and go on to the next one, knowing that next time you come across somebody like this, you talk to them and you be honest with your feelings, okay? But blaming the dude here, saying you feel betrayed, that's weak as fucking shit. That's some weak ass shit right there. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's a shitty thing to do. Since then, I feel like the group dynamic only got worse. James never really got any closure from the altercation, and just gradually became more and more bitter over time, taking it out verbally on the D&D group and destroying his own belongings. What? Nathan became even more inconsistent with his mood swings, the most recent episode being him telling me off for taking overtime at work to pay for a vacation that we had all planned together instead of coming to a Christmas party. I still keep in touch with Andrew, who's doing well, and I message Richard sometimes because his wife and my fiancé are friends, and I still see him as a friend, albeit a very busy one. I've started my own D&D campaign with some other friends and still paint and play Warhammer in my spare time. In short, I owe these guys a lot for helping me in my lowest point, and I'm much better off because of them, but I've separated myself for now for my own sanity. Brothers, if you are friends with people who have toxic traits, don't let them turn into a 6-year burn. Get out or bring it to their attention. It will fuck you if you don't in the end. Cheers, Captain. You're right, mate. Completely right. Completely right. Bring it to their attention, let them know. Okay? Let them know. And if you don't want to do that, if it's a friend that you see intermittently or something, then just cut them out. Just quietly cut them out. Say, no, we're done for a bit. And if they come back, try and organise something, tell them no. And if they say why, tell them why. Okay? Or if they've noticed that they're not being invited to things, tell them why. To be honest with them, tell them why. You did this thing that pissed me off. Right? So you're in timeout for a bit. You're over there in the corner, not with me. Alright? Now, if you're annoyed because all of your friends are also my friends and you know all of your friends through me, then maybe you should think about that before acting like a prick to me next time. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Okay? In your situation, kind of the same, dude. I would actually do kind of the same and bring it to their attention. I think you seem like a normal guy who lets people kind of not get away with things, but you let things go. Do you know what I mean? And in letting things go, you have a tendency to get hurt, which isn't great. That's a behavioural trait you need to sort out in yourself, okay? You need to make sure that as soon as somebody annoys you to that extent, you let them know and you walk away. Okay? Life is too short. Especially your hobby time. Hobby time especially. Life is too short, but your hobby time is so precious. You don't get a lot of time a week to indulge in your hobbies. So when you do, why would you do it with dickheads? I've said it it's one of our mantras on the channel. Picking your opponents is 90% of the Warhammer hobby. And any nerdy hobby, actually. Picking the person you play those hobbies with is 90% of that hobby. The other 10% is actually doing the hobby. But 90% of your enjoyment in the hobby, right, is picking the people to do it with. Unless you do it on your own, then fine. You know what I mean? But if you're going to be gaming or being in a social setting with your hobby, and that's a big part of what you enjoy, then 90% of your enjoyment in that hobby is choosing who you spend your time with whilst you're hobbying. And if they're not the right person, right, if they're not the right person, you need to leave. Because your hobby time's too precious, let alone your life. Jesus. Anyway, Shen says, well, it says Shen, SH3N, so I'm thinking Shen, right? Okay. Hi North, I'm loving the content that you're making, and I've been on a binge of your hobby nightmares since the last 2 weeks, so I figured I'd send in my recent nightmare. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. I first got introduced to the hobby around 15 years ago when I was 11. At the time, I got the Battle for Macragge starter set. I loved the painting and modelling, but what I did the most was look at the amazing artwork in the rulebook, and I fell in love with the dark aesthetic. After a few years, I left the hobby since I wanted to have a bigger social life, and when you're 15, playing with plastic toys and getting laid is not easy. Yeah, I'm with you. There were a few years there where I fell away from the hobby completely. Just to get on the horse, so to speak. Then a few years back, I stumbled upon Lewiton's videos and got really interested within the lore of the universe I used to love as a kid, and went down the old rabbit hole. This made me start reading the Horus Heresy series, since the local Games Workshop store is around the corner. I got most of my books there, at least the ones available, so I came to the store quite regularly to pick up an order. When I'm there, I always have a friendly chat with the store owner, let's call him Rick, and Rick's a super chill guy, and we usually talk about things outside of the hobby. I figure since he is around hobbyists all day, it might be nice for him to have a person to be able to have a chat with without having to only talk about Warhammer. Well, that's quite rare for a Games Workshop guy, that's how you know. Then last year, I went to a rehab since I was quite addicted to alcohol and something that's exported from Colombia. I think that's the best way to say it on YouTube. Yeah, call it Charlie. That's what I call it. Bit of Charlie. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got help, dude. That's amazing. Well done to you. Since then, I've been slowly getting back into the painting side of the hobby to fill my time. And even though people compare it to a Colombian addiction, I can speak from experience that it's way cheaper to buy some plastic models instead of powdering your nose. Thank you! Said that for ages. Don't say that. They'd be like, oh my god, it's more addictive than crack. No, it isn't. Alright, no. No. If it is like that to you, you need help. So now I'm in the store more often whenever I make a small purchase. I think Games Workshop prices are ridiculous, but since Rick has never tried to push me into buying anything in all those years, I want to support him whenever I'm getting some paint or maybe one box of minis. However, I don't like being there a lot, since I don't quite like the people whose entire life is based around Warhammer. To each their own, it's just not my type of crowd, even though I'm a huge nerd myself. That is completely fine, mate. Don't be feeling guilty because of that, right? Your own involvement in your own hobby is not something you need to justify to anybody else, alright? No problem with that at all. Now here comes the nightmare. When the book, Artwork of the Horus Heresy was announced, I was hoping to be able to get it, but it was sold out almost instantly. And when I saw the eBay prices, I just accepted that I won't even own one, since I'm not paying $150+ for a book. Then, 3 weeks back, I went to the local store to pick up some paints, and to my surprise, there was one copy of the Art of the Horus Heresy sitting behind the counter. I asked Rick if it was reserved for somebody, and to my surprise, he said it's not for sale. This made me extremely happy. Oh, sorry. He said, no, it's for sale. Sorry, that was my fault. I misread that. To my surprise, he said, no, it's for sale. This made me extremely happy. So I said to him, cool, I'll get that. Just let me grab some paints that I came in for and I'll be right back. He said, sure, take your time. Excellent stuff, man. Let me just take a sip of my tea. He's probably happy to be making that sale, to be honest with you. Now the villain of our story comes walking in. Let's call him Corey, since I don't know his real name, and every Corey I've met is a bit of a twat. Okay. Corey does sound like a twat's name, to be fair. What's your name? Corey. Oh, God. Of course it is. Can't he be called Dave or Andy or something like that? No. Corey. My name's Corey, man. Cool. Sure it is. Sure it is. I've told you about the guy called Pyro that used to hang out in a circle I hung out with, and I just couldn't stand the guy. What's your name? Pyro. It's like, no, your name's not Pyro. Right? Your name's Bob, isn't it? Your name's Robert, isn't it? Right? That's your name. Your name's not fucking Pyro. Alright? Your stupid spiked hair and your chains. Fuck off. Get in the sea. Anyway. This guy had a neckbeard so thick and disgusting, I think there are some undiscovered animals living in there. Wearing a Naruto shirt with holes and many different coloured stains on it, he walked in and saw the copy of the book behind the counter and said to Rick, "Oh, let me buy that." And Rick said, "Sorry, mate, I already reserved it for him," and pointed at me. Corey looked at me and said, "I've never seen you here before. What makes you think you are worthy of owning this book over me?" What? Do you know what? I've got to give Corey some props for his balls. Like, just walking up, just saying that to a random stranger. What makes you think you are worthy of owning this book over me? Fucking hell. Guy's got a set of cojones on him. I just stood there, looked him in the eye, and started laughing. Yeah, I mean, what else are you supposed to do? It was such a stereotypical attitude and way of talking that I just couldn't stop myself from laughing. Corey's face became red, and he started shouting, "I've read all of the Horus Heresy novels, and also have a collection of all the Primarch miniatures. I spent thousands on this universe, so you should let me buy it." I told him, if you already have spent so much on it, then you wouldn't mind paying the scalping prices on eBay so you can buy it over there. Corey started shouting, "No, I will buy this book, and you will let me do so." Meanwhile, Rick was just staring at him with an amazed look on his face. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. If you ever give cheek or hatred to your local Games Workshop manager, just remember, this is the kind of shit they have to go through every day. Right? I suffered a neckbeard meltdown once every other working day working the Games Workshop. Whether it was as a staff member or as a manager, right? And things only got worse when I ran my own hobby store for a friend of mine, right? When I came back to the Northwest, I ran my own hobby store, which I did for a lot longer than working for Games Workshop. You know what I mean? It was a couple of years there. And it only got worse. Because Games Workshop, yeah, they see the brand and people tend to behave in there, even though you do get some really vile people coming in. But a local hobby store, when there's no other stores around, man, you're going to get it in the neck from a lot of really, really damaged people. So, I decided to walk to the counter, hand Rick the bottle of paint I came to get, and said to him, "I'm ready to pay." He just grabbed the book, scanned it, and prepared the bill. Whilst I was holding my debit card, Corey tried to grab my card and kept yelling, "No, you can't have it, mate." At this point, I'm headbutting him on the nose. Sorry, you do not cross that line. He's already being a twat. You do not cross that line. You touch my shit or me, I'm kicking your ass. Alright? At this point, I was losing my temper. I looked at Rick and said to him, "Sorry in advance how I'm going to talk to him in your store, but one sec." Corey was still trying to get my debit card. I pushed his hands away and stared him straight in the eyes and told him that if he tried to touch me again, that it wouldn't end well for him, his musty basement-dwelling virgin ass. He stepped back and walked away sobbing. I looked at Rick and said, he said, quite quietly, yeah, he's like that, dude. I'm sorry, I don't know how to deal with him. I just told him not to worry about it. That was my hobby nightmare, and also a good confirmation of why I don't like the crowd that goes to Games Workshop stores. Greetings. An addict that switched from drugs to plastic crack. Alright. One thing I will say, dude, please don't tar people going to Games Workshop with the same brush as that guy. That's not fair, right? I've said it many times in videos. At Games Workshop, you get a lot of damaged people because of the brand, okay? They feel safer in there to go in there. And you will get an explosion from time to time. And also, people calling bullshit on this story. I know there's going to be a few of you in the comments who are like, nah, I'll take, it didn't happen for 500, please, Nigel. Right, okay, all those dickheads. I'm telling you now, I believe this one, alright? Because I'm surprised more nightmares that come in aren't like this. Because the sheer amount of times I've seen it myself working at Games Workshop. Or in my own hobby store, right? The sheer amount of times I've seen similar attitudes, similar incidents of people just... you don't know. This guy might have severe autism and is just having a really bad day, right? And this thing just sends him over the edge. You don't know what's been going on in his life, right? These things do happen. They happen at Games Workshop stores. They happen in normal stores. Now, a Games Workshop manager will see them nearly every day, okay? It's something, when you're in a hobby such as this, you just got to put up with and get on with it, you know? Call them out for the behaviour, sure, but you got to accept it's going to happen from time to time. I was quite unlucky and that happened to me quite a lot, but I know other Games Workshop managers where they say, no, I have one problem a month, maybe, you know what I mean? From kids who are screaming or going mental or whatever, or man children who are throwing their models everywhere. It happens like once every month, maybe. And that's still a lot. That is still a lot for what it is. Well, for those of you saying you know, it probably didn't happen, I'm going to choose to agree and accept this one as having happened. Because I can definitely see this happening. Definitely. Absolutely. Now, I bet you there's a few people in the comments who've seen similar things happen to them too. If you have, then put it down in the description down below. And I will speak to you tomorrow for some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.